In this screencast, we're going to look at one of the issues with folders and a simple way of getting around this issue. So here we've got just a simple website with a folder and some products. So folders on their own are a pretty useful way of actually storing different asset types within them. But one of the problems is if we preview a product here, if anyone happens to get to this particular URL, so the URL of the folder, what we see is pretty much a blank page, and it's a pretty terrible experience for the user just to see, a title and no content. Even if you had a proper design around there with, any different sorts of navigation, there's not going to be navigation potentially for the direct children of this current asset. So what we want to do is look at a simple way of getting around that issue. So if we go back to Matrix here, what we're going to do is edit the design that's applied to the products folder, and I'm just going to insert some of the code from the book. Now we're not going to use all of it to begin with, so I'm just going to delete this first bit here and this bit here. And what we've got here is a show if design area. So the condition that we're looking at is asset type, and the type of asset that has to be is folder. So if that condition is met, we can insert some text here. So let's just stick that in. This is a folder. Save that. And if we refresh, there we go, this is a folder. And if we go back to the standard page and refresh, we can see that there is no folder text there. So that's the first step. So, even if you didn't want to take the next step that we're about to do, you could at least provide some sort of textual information there, almost a 404 page if you wanted to. You could embed a sitemap or potentially a search page. But what we're going to do is try and list the assets that are underneath the products folder, just so that if there is no navigation, the user at least has some way of moving on past this folder asset. So we go back to Matrix and we're in the design again. Now just copy the full code this time. So now we have the first bit is just a nested content design area. I've called this one child listing. The trick here is we've set print to no. So once we set this up and nest it in, it's not actually going to display immediately. Then the trick is we can use the mySourcePrint variable to actually print that child listing exactly where we want it. Okay, so we'll commit that, and what we want to do is create a design customization. I like to call the top level ones default. We can go to that, and what we'll do is we'll nest in an asset listing so we can list those products underneath. So we actually need to create that asset listing, and I'm just going to stick a folder in here. Something I like to do, we can call this one helpers. We might have another name for it, but just any of these type of asset listings that we need to create that aren't actually content, it's good to stick them in their own folder here. Another advantage of having its own folder here is that it won't inherit any URLs. So we'll create an asset listing page, and we'll just call this one child listing. Asset types to list. I'm just going to start with standard pages, but if you were using this across your site, you might want to pick images or news items or whatever types of assets that you might need to list. The root nodes, if we had several sites that you might want to use this asset listing across, you would pick those, but we've just got the one, so I can just pick that. Direct links only, I'm going to set to yes. You just want to list those direct children. And then the last bit is the dynamic parameters. So you just want to pick the first option here, which is basically replacing the root node depending on where the asset listing has been nested. And I'm going to set that to the current asset. So what that means is when we nest in this asset listing into our design and a user previews one of the product pages, for example, So product 1. This asset listing is going to set its root node to, sorry, if we're previewing the products folder, this asset listing will set its root node to products instead of, wherever that asset listing is created. And this is something that is used a lot in Matrix, so if you can get that one down. Okay. So now we go back to our design customization. And we'll customize the nest content child listing. Still leave print set to no, and we'll just pick that asset listing that we created. So now if we go back to the products folder, we haven't quite got there yet. Last thing we need to do is to actually apply that customization that we've just created. There's the default customization. And we'll try again. There we have it. So you could be on product 1 page and for whatever reason you get lost. Maybe you're using the matrix search, maybe using an external search engine, and maybe you just end up typing it in like that. You end up on the products folder, at least to giving users some guidance as to how they might navigate from there. If you wanted to customize the asset listing and change the format, you can obviously do that, or even insert some text. But anything that just gives the user some guidance as to where they should actually go from here.